Star Trek's newest series isn't flinching away from the brutal reality of a career in Starfleet. For nearly 60 years, Star Trek has inspired audiences with visions of exploration, hope, and the unyielding belief that humanity can build a better future among the stars. Starfleet has always stood as a shining symbol of that optimism, a place where intellect, diplomacy, and courage replace greed and violence. But Star Trek's newest series isn't content to let that ideal stand unchallenged. Beneath the pristine decks and inspiring speeches, it's shining a harsh light on what it really means to dedicate one's life to Starfleet. And it's not always as noble or clean as the dream suggests. This latest addition to the Star Trek universe is peeling back the myth of Starfleet perfection and revealing the toll such a career takes on the people who serve. For every glorious first contact and every scientific breakthrough, there's exhaustion, sacrifice, and the silent cost of duty. The new show's brilliance lies in its refusal to romanticize the organization that's defined the franchise for decades. It still honors Starfleet's ideals, but it no longer hides from their consequences. The pressure beneath the polished uniform. The early Star Trek series often treated Starfleet as a near utopia, a place where people pursued their passions without ego or burnout. But the new series introduces something more authentic: the emotional gravity of a life spent in service to an ideal. Characters grapple with the weight of constant danger, long separations from family, and the emotional dissonance of being both explorer and soldier. One standout storyline follows an officer who spent years on the frontier, realizing that Starfleet's high-minded mission statement doesn't always prepare you for the trauma of watching crew members die or civilizations crumble despite your best efforts. The show's tone isn't cynical, it's honest. It portrays the psychological bruises that come with exploration in a universe that's vast, unpredictable, and frequently hostile. The Federation may be a utopia, but the path to maintaining it is paved with sacrifice. The newest Star Trek finally gives voice to the officers who've endured the unseen scars that come from holding the line against chaos, loss, and the moral compromises demanded by survival. Duty versus identity. One of the most fascinating themes in the new series is the tension between personal identity and Starfleet identity. The franchise has always celebrated the unity of the crew, but now we see what happens when individuality starts to erode under the relentless demand for duty. An officer who has spent decades in uniform suddenly finds herself unable to define who she is without Starfleet. Another, a brilliant scientist, faces the crushing realization that their entire self-worth depends on how useful they are to the mission. The show's quiet, reflective moments hit hardest because they acknowledge that serving something bigger than yourself can sometimes mean losing yourself in the process. This isn't the first time Star Trek has touched on this theme. Deep Space Nine hinted at the same existential fatigue, and Discovery wrestled with the trauma of endless conflict. But the new series makes it central. It's about the emotional fallout of being a professional idealist in a galaxy that constantly tests that idealism. It's a portrait of Starfleet not as a dream, but as a demanding reality that consumes those strong enough to carry its weight. The Federation's flawed idealism. What makes this series so compelling is that it doesn't attack Starfleet, it interrogates it. The Federation still represents everything that's good about humanity, but the new show reminds us that good doesn't always mean easy. It examines the bureaucracy that can suffocate innovation, the ethical dilemmas that come with advanced technology, and the quiet corruption that can hide behind even the noblest mission statement. There's a brilliant episode where a captain is forced to choose between saving a colony or following a direct order from command. It's not a question of right or wrong. It's about what Starfleet demands when there isn't a perfect answer. The episode ends not with triumph, but reflection, a hallmark of the show's new, mature storytelling approach. This evolution doesn't betray Star Trek's optimistic core, it deepens it. Optimism without struggle is fantasy. Optimism born from struggle is fate. By facing the cracks in Starfleet's armor, the new series reinforces what makes Star Trek endure: the belief that humanity keeps trying, even when it hurts. Starfleet's quiet heroes. For all its darkness, the series never forgets the heart of Star Trek: the people. The new characters aren't disillusioned, they're resilient. They may question Starfleet's choices, but they never lose sight of why they joined. They're the embodiment of courage not because they're unshakable, but because they keep moving forward even when the ideal they serve feels impossibly far away. A standout scene captures this perfectly. A young ensign, after losing a friend in a